Shalom. Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor, all glory, all praise to the great and terrible, and a special emphasis on that terrible, meaning to cause fear, to cause awe, to cause dread. The great, terrible power, Yahweh, right? Who's the creator of us all. And we do so by Sham HaMashiach Yahushai. Not by Shem, but by Sham HaMashiach Yahushai. So it's your brother Sadiq back at you again with another live lesson, another class, right? I want to also give double honors to the elders that came before us, that ruled well, who taught us this truth, right? Who we are as the 12 tribes of Israel, right? Quick announcements. Make sure you like or dislike, subscribe to the channel, share it. We have classes every first day with Officer Markad at 2 p.m. Pacific Standard. We have classes on the second day with myself. Classes on the fourth day with the Elder Priest Awam, and also on the sixth day with Elder Priest Awam. And then we're also on Hollywood for the Sabbath day, the seventh day, right? So let's go ahead and get right on into it. Today is going to be a very impactful class today, right? So let's open up with the book of Colossians, chapter 3 and verse 17. A second. It's just Salaki, bear with me one. All right, Salakia. So Colossians chapter 3 and verse 17. And whatsoever ye do in word or deed, do all by Sham HaMashiach Yahushai, giving thanks to the Most High and the Father by Sham HaMashiach Yahushai. We make sure that we have to emphasize these our language, right? Because when we don't say words and we spell them incorrectly and everything, we could be giving power and saying something totally different to another deity and giving power to another deity, right? So let's make sure we say Sham and not Shem, because Shem, that's Yiddish right there. So it's Basham, not Bahasham, because you saying the name twice, but Basham HaMashiach Yahushai, right? So let's go ahead and get right on into this. Don't say those names. So, we've been continuing with a theme that we have been going on probably for the last several months now, right? About not using L-O-R-D, which means B-A-A-L, not using A-M-E-N, right, which is the last name of Z-E-U-S. It's so important that we take heed to these things right here. Let's read the book of Exodus, chapter 23 and verse 13. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect. Circumspect means to be aware, be cautious, right? And make no mention of the name of other gods, neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. We don't make mention of the names of other gods because you are invoking those spirits, right? That's you calling upon those spirits unknowingly. This is why I say we have to make sure we say Sham. Make sure we spell in Hamashiach Yahushai the correct way, right? Making sure we're not using A-P-T-T-M-H, right? Making sure we're not just saying all praises and then that's it, right? We have to make sure that we are disciplined and strict on our communication, the things that come out our mouth, right? And this lesson is going to be a very, very heavy lesson. We're going to start with the ground foundation of it to pretty much lay out the premises for it. But it's probably going to be a continuous series right here because it's very, very serious. So in this series, M-O-L-O-C-H is going to come out a lot, which is also B-A-L, which means L-O-R-D. That's going to come out a lot right here. So I'm going to make sure I'm spelling it. So I'm giving you the scriptures to show why we spell these things out. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 27. For the worshiping of idols, not to be named, you see that, is the beginning. So it says these idols are not to be named. Don't call on their name. Don't say L-O-R-D. Don't say A-M-E-N. I think this is a scripture that a lot of brothers just kind of look over and don't really delve deep into it. Don't delve deep into the spiritual substance and content behind it, right? Because this could be what is stopping us calling on the wrong names, calling on a deity and continuing to invoke Satan into our life. So it says, for the worshiping of idols, not to be named, is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. So this is what actually caused us to go off initially. The worshiping of idols. That's the beginning of it, right? Lord equals Baal equals enchantment on Israel. Numbers chapter 23 and verse 23. Surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. According to this time, it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what have the Most High wrought? No nation with their demonic power on the left-hand side can successfully use sorcery or magic to harm Israelites when they remain in a state of fear. So when we remain in a state of fear, none of that enchantment, that sorcery, that witchcraft, it's not going to harm us. It says obedience and faithfulness to the Most High. This protection stems from their submission to the divine sovereignty of the Most High, whose power is absolute over all other forces. This is why it's so important that we do not call on Lord, that we do not call on Baal, that we do not say Amen. So important, right? So I have to lay these things down, the latest premises for this heavy topic we're going to talk about tonight. Child sacrifice today. The spiritual and modern battle. So strong warning. This part of our discussion delves into the spiritual battles and real world dangers impacting our children today. This is not about conspiracy theories, but about confronting the subtle and overt ways childhood innocence is eroded and sacrificed in our age. What is child sacrifice? The horrifying why. So we're going to really get into this thing. The unthinkable. Why? Key definition. The realistic unaliving of a child, specifically offered as a living sacrifice to a deity or supernatural power. Ancient motivations driven by desperation and darkness. During famine, war, or plague, a desperate belief that only the ultimate offering, the life of their own child, could secure survival or avert divine wrath. Seeking extreme favor to ensure unparalleled fertility for crops or livestock, guarantee immense prosperity, or achieve decisive victory in seemingly unwinnable wars. This was the perceived highest price to compel a deity's blessing. Ultimate devotion. A twisted belief that offering their own child demonstrated supreme loyalty, solidifying a covenant, or ensuring personal gain and status in the eyes of their God. Right? This is why I laid it out at the beginning. Their gods are named Baal. Their gods are named Moloch, which means Lord. You can go back to any of our previous lessons. Whispers from the End. You can go back to the elders' lessons, previous lessons. You can go back to Officer Markaz's lessons. This is so important, and we cannot emphasize this enough. Let's be clear. Child sacrifice is the intentional, realistic unaliving of a young person as an offering. It is the ultimate violation of the sacred bond between parent and child, and between humanity and the Most High. The profound question is why? How could humanity sink to such depths in the ancient world? It stemmed from a warped theology, a desperate fear-driven attempt to manipulate powerful, often cruel deities. This is what we are doing when we say Lord. We're calling on cruel, manipulative deities that these other nations serve. Imagine the terror, the desperation, a people facing annihilation, believing their gods demanded their most precious possession to be appeased, or the ambition sacrificing the innocent for perceived prosperity or power. This practice stands in absolute contradiction to the nature of the Most High, the creator of all life, who commands and delights in preservation, not destruction. Deuteronomy chapter 12 and verse 30. Take heed to thyself that thou be not snared by following them, after that they be destroyed from before thee, and that thou inquire not after their gods, saying, how did these nations serve their gods? Even so will I do likewise. This is instructions from the Most High telling us, commanding us to not follow after the gods that we are round about the gods of the other nations that are round about us. Don't even inquire about these other deities. Don't ask what their name is. Don't ask how do you worship him. Don't ask any of those type of questions. But what do? We ask those type of questions. We want to inquire about BAAL. We want to inquire about AMEN. We want to inquire about MOLOCH. Because we're hard-headed. We're curious. And what's the old saying? Curiosity, what? Killed the cat, right? Verse 31. Thou shalt not do so unto the Most High thy power. For every abomination to the Most High, which he hateth. A special emphasis on that. Which he hateth. The Most High hates that thing. Have they done unto their gods? For even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. St. Matthew chapter 6 and verse 24. No man can serve two masters. You can't serve two. You can't say I'm going to serve the Most High and I'm also going to serve BAAL, who is LORD. You can't say you're going to serve the Most High and also serve MOLOCH. You can't serve the Most High and say I'm going to say AMEN at the end of my prayer. You can't serve both of the things because one is the supreme power, which is the Most High on the right hand side, and the other is the demonic energy, the demonic sorcery and powers, which is on the left hand side, which is LORD. No man can serve two masters, for either he will hate the one and love the other. That's what happened with King Solomon. King Solomon, he fell after his many strange wives because they had him worshiping and serving their deities, their gods. So he, at one time, he loved the Most High. But when he started following behind some tail, right, the tail of the other nations, he didn't listen to the Most High no more. He started building up temples and shrineries and making sacrifices to the deities and the gods of these other nations. It says, or else he will hold to the one and despise the other. Ye cannot serve the Most High and MAMMON. Therefore I say unto you, take no thought for your life, what ye shall eat. So this is the Most High right here. He's telling us, look, don't worry about what you're going to eat the next day. These other deities, they worried about if it's going to rain. They worried about if they're going to get crops. They worried about if there's going to be fertility. This is why they did offerings to their gods, because they were not sure what the next day brought. The Most High says, you know what? Take no thought for your life. He said, don't worry about what's going to happen to you from day in to day out, right? He says, what shall ye eat or what shall ye drink? He said, don't worry about those things. That's what the other nations worried about. They worried about what they're going to eat, what they're going to drink, how they're going to stay warm, how they're going to have babies. They worried about those things. We don't have to worry about nothing when you have faith in the Most High. When you worry, you cancel out faith, right? So the moment we started following after these other gods, we canceled out our faith because we started worrying, because their deities worried. This is why they did child sacrifice, which we're going to show in tonight's lesson. Or what ye shall drink, nor yet for your body what ye shall put on. Is not the life more than meat, and the body than raiment? Behold, the fowls of the air, for they sow not, neither do they reap, nor gather into barns, yet your heavenly Father feedeth them. Are you not much better than they? But what do we just do? We are hard-headed Israel who desires a king. We are hard-headed Israel who desires to have to know how these other nations worship their God. That's who we are. Rebellious. A stark contrast, the Most High versus pagan gods. The Most High, he's the giver of life. Let's pull that out. Let's pull that verse up real quick. Genesis, I didn't put that in my presentation, but I'll pull it up real quick. Genesis chapter 2, Let's see what that says. Genesis chapter 2 and verse 7. And the Most High formed man of the dust of the ground and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul. Baal in his in the writings of Baal and the instructions of Moloch, it doesn't say that they formed man of the dust of the ground and they breathed in it the breath of life. The Most High, he took authority on that. He's the one that breathed breath into our lungs, right? And formed us from the dust of the ground. Meaning he gave us our intelligence, right? He made it where Adam named everything. It says the giver of life. Genesis 2 and 7. Let's go to Psalms chapter 36 and verse 9. Let's see what that says. Psalms 36 and verse 9. For with thee is the fountain of life. That's what the Most High. When you come back to the Most High, when you fear the Most High, that's the fountain of life. In thy light shall we see light. So in the Most High's light, that's how we are going to see light. So the giver of life, he demands fear, righteousness, desires redemption. His sacrifices were animal, prescribed for atonement, pointing to fulfillment. Pagan deities, often portrayed as demanding, capricious, requiring human appropriation, bloodlust driven by fear. This profound contrast between the true Most High and the false gods is critical. The Most High is the giver of life. His very essence is life-giving, loving, and preserving. His commandments guide towards flourishings and blessings, right? So when you follow the Most High's instructions, this is what it leads to. When the Most High commands sacrifices, they were animal sacrifices, symbolic, pointing to a future fulfillment and meant to draw people into relationship and atonement, not to destroy life. Because that's what happens on the left-hand side, the destruction of life. Conversely, the pagan deities were often perceived as demanding, capricious, requiring human bloodshed to be appeased. Their worship was steeped in fear, designed to manipulate dark powers. Child sacrifice was the ultimate affront to the Most High's nature as creator and sustainer. It was a desecration of life itself. 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 and verse 3. Let no man deceive you by any means. Let me repeat that again. Let no man deceive you by any means. If you are putting L-O-R-D and you are saying L-O-R-D, you are being deceived, because that is the guise that B-A-A-L he goes under. That's his AKA. That's his alias right there. That's one of his names right there. M-O-L-O-C-H is another name of B-A-A-L. All these things are of deities that were they're deities that pretty much were that the Israelites they worshiped when we were under captivity amongst our enemies. These were the deities that they worshiped. So it's all the same. It's all one and the same. Let no man deceive you by any means, because the Israelites, we have been deceived. We have been deceived by calling on these things and saying the names of these other idols and these other deities that we are calling upon the Most High. It says, for that day shall not come, except there come a falling away first, and that man of sin be revealed, the son of perdition. We are trying to show you the son of perdition, B-A-A-L, M-O-L-O-C-H, and who is still using that same power. That's what we're going to understand in tonight's lesson. Who is using and calling upon that same power that is ruling the earth today? Who opposes and exalted himself above all that is called God, or that is worship, so that he as God, and I'm reading this as it is for a reason, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God, because that's what the so-called Edomite does. He says we've heard of that count. They said it's to the elder before a person came by. and say, yeah, we created that word, G-O-D, right? This verse is about B-A-A-L-L-O-R-D, who wants to be the Most High. So we see that these deities, M-O-L-O-C-H, they want to be the Most High. B-A-A-L, they want to be the Most High, who opposeth and exalteth himself above all that is called the Most High, or that is worship. This means that B-A-A-L, which means L-O-R-D, sets himself against everyone and everything that is worshipped. He puts himself above all other gods and above the true Most High power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, because his goal is to be known as the Most High. That's his whole goal, to be known as the Most High. This is a spiritual thing. It's spiritual. It comes as a thought in your mind, and then you say it out your mouth, and that whatever you think in your mind, it becomes reality. So if you're calling on L-O-R-D, you are calling on the spiritual demon Satan. You are calling on B-A-A-L, so that he as God sitteth in the temple of God, showing himself that he is God. This means that B-A-A-L, acting as if he is the true Most High, will sit in the temple, right? That belongs to the true Most High. By doing this, he is trying to show the Israelites that he is the one they should worship. So when you are saying this thing, you're wearing it out, L-O-R-D, you're wearing it out, you're wearing out A-M-E-N, you are showing, the Israelites are showing that B-A-L, he's the one that should be worshiped. This is very, very serious right here, because we read that we can't let these names come out of our mouth. This is so serious. We cannot stress this enough. It says, even though he is not the true Most High, this is a false claim and an act of disrespect against the Most High. One more time. This is a false claim and an act of disrespect against the Most High. Canaanites and M-O-L-C-H, the biblical warning. Prevalence. Child sacrifice was deeply embedded in the religious practices of cultures surrounding ancient Israel. M-O-L-O-C-H, a deity prominently associated with child sacrifice by fire, often worshipped by Canaanites and later Phoenicians. Leviticus 18:21, and thou shalt not let any of thy seed pass through the fire to M-O-L-E-C-H. That's the seed is talking about your offspring, your children. Neither shalt thou profane the name of thy power. I am the Most High. You shouldn't profane the name of the Most High by disrespecting him and calling him by some local tribal deity. Leviticus 20:2. Again, thou shalt say to the children of Israel, whosoever he be of the children of Israel, or of the strangers that sojourn in Israel, that giveth any of his seed unto M-O-L-E-C-H, he shall surely be put to death. You see that? That giveth any of his seed. And we're going to get the understanding of what it means by giveth any of his seed, because we are still doing that to this day. This stuff has never stopped. It has been an ongoing cycle. M-O-L-O-C-H, he never disappeared. He never just disappeared from history. He is alive and well, and inside of your minds, rent free every time you say L-O-R-D. Those are bars actually right there. Verse 3, and I will set my face against that man and will cut him off from among his people. One more time. And I will set my face against that man. So if you're using these things and you're allowing your child to go through the seed of M-O-L-O-C-H, the Most High says he's going to set his face against that man. That means he's not for you. That means he is your foe and not your ally. He is your enemy and not your friend. That's what the Most High now becomes to you. And will cut him off from among his people. That means you're not going to make it. That means you're not going to get to the kingdom. You're not going to get eternal life if you're cut off from your people, because he have given of his seed unto M-O-L-E-C-H to defile my sanctuary. Because you're up here inside of the temple calling on B-A-A-L. That's what they did in the ancient world. Fast forward today, you are inside the temple calling on L-O-R-D. We got to stop this, Yasha Allah. We must stop this. This is a spiritual thing. This is not just a physical, carnal thing, bang on Esau. This is a spiritual thing. We are battling the spiritual demon Satan, right? It says to defile my sanctuary and to profane my holy name. And if the people of that land do any ways hide their eyes from the man, when he giveth up his seed unto Molech and kill him not, then I will set my face against that man. That's how serious it is. If the people don't put hands on you, the people being Israel, they don't put hands on you, then the Most High's face is going to be set against us. This is why we are giving you warning to get the blood off our hands. To say that we told our people, we told Israel to stop calling on these names right here, because we don't look. I'm gonna speak for Shield of Wisdom on this right here, right? We do not want the blood on our hands. This is why we are warning the nation, and we are stressing this point so much. We don't want the blood on our hands and for our people to be going off. We love Israel, right? But we have to, we understand that to get into the kingdom, we can't take Israel with us. I can't take the elder with me. He's not going to stand side by side with me. My brothers, Markad, Yashimai, Yagai, they're not going to be by my side on my day of judgment, right? And each brother, they understand that as well. So we're trying to get the blood off our hands. And this is a serious topic that we must crucially look at and understand, because the scripture in Exodus 23, it says, be circumspect, meaning be aware. That's a caution. That's a warning. It says, then I will set my face against that man and against his family. I don't want that. This is why we're trying to get the blood off our hands. And we'll cut him off, and all that go a whoring after him, to commit whoredom with Molech from among their people. This is a serious thing, Yasha Allah. As Israel prepared to enter the promised land, they were surrounded by nations practicing unspeakable evils. That's the same thing we see today. We see people around us celebrating the 4th of July. We see people around us celebrating Thanksgiving, Christmas, right? Labor Day, Memorial Day. All types of things are the people around us celebrating. The same way they were doing in the ancient world. Nothing changed. So these other nations, they call upon Lord, which means Baal. Why are we calling upon that same deity? This is what they did. We are supposed to call on the Most High Yahweh, right? The Most High, the power of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. It says central among these was child sacrifice, particularly to a deity known as Moloch. Please, just a quick one. Please like or dislike, share, and subscribe to the channel, right? We're trying to get this message out right here, which is so important. It says the very fabric of Canaanite society was stained by this. The Most High's laws were given as a radical separation from this darkness. Let me repeat that again. The very fabric of Canaanite society was stained by this. Stained by what? Unspeakable evils. The Most High's laws, which was given to us, the Israelites, the 12 tribes, and nobody else, the Most High's laws were given as a radical separation from this darkness. Let's read one of the laws again. Let's read one of those laws again. Exodus chapter 23 and verse 13. And in all things that I have said unto you, be circumspect. This is one of the laws that the Most High gave us to separate from darkness. It says, and make no mention of the name of other gods. Stop trying to justify saying these things. Neither let it be heard out of thy mouth. That's a law to separate us from darkness. Do you want to remain in darkness, Yasha Allah? Right? We are supposed to be prince and princesses that have power with the Most High. That means we have the Most High's light. We bask in his light. Right? We get stronger from his light. Leviticus chapter 18 and verse 21 is unequivocal. You shall not let any of your seed pass through the fire to, I almost said it. You see? And that's the spirit thing right there, right? I almost said it. Baba Kashah, Baba Kashah, Baba Shah. Please forgive me, Most High. I almost said it, but I caught myself. All praise to the Most High for that. Pass through the fire to M-O-L-E-C-H. That's why I said this thing is a spiritual thing. You know, let me make sure, hold on. Let me make sure I got my, let me make sure I got my frankincense burning. Once. I'm back. You got to make sure that frankincense and myrrh is burning, right? Because we're dealing with some things, right? You know, we stay on the right hand side, but we have to sometimes we got to go into this left hand side stuff to show our people what we into, so we could come out of it. By saying B-A-A-L, that's some left hand side stuff, right? That's not right hand side. That's left hand side. By saying M-O-L-O-C-H, that's some left handed stuff right there, right? It says, you shall not let any of your seed pass through the fire to M-O-L-O-C. Well, they spell it, this right is spelled M-O-L-E-C-H. This was an act that profaned the Most High's holy name. You see that? It profaned the Most High's holy name. The consequences were severe. As outlined in Leviticus 20, death to the perpetrator and judgment upon any community that ignored this abomination. This shows the absolute gravity of the sin in the Most High's eyes. You see that? He's telling you that he hates this thing. Knock it off. He's telling you that he literally hates it, right? The brass idol. Historical accounts describe an idol of M-O-L-O-C-H as a large, hollow bronze or brass figure. Often with the head of a bull, a fire would be lit inside the idol's hollow stomach, heating it until it was red hot. The children to be sacrificed were then placed on the idol's outstretched arms, from which they would roll into the fiery furnace below. This is what you're calling on when you say L-O-R-D. Drowning out the cries. According to some accounts, during these rituals, drums were beaten and flutes were played loudly to drown out the cries of the children and their parents, so that the parents' hearts would not be moved to interfere with the sacrifice. This is what you're doing when you're calling on L-O-R-D. The lack of tears from the mothers was sometimes seen as a sign of their devotion to the God, meaning B-A-A-L, meaning A-M-E-N, right? Which is Z-E-U-S's last name. Offering the best, the sacrifices were seen as a way to give the most valuable thing a person could offer to the God. Some accounts suggest there was a hierarchy of offerings, with a child being the greatest sacrifice. And you look at it today, right? Because we're going to get into how this thing is happening today. Your child is your most valuable asset. Why is your child your most valuable asset? Because they're going to be the ones that's going to continue or discontinue your legacy once you're not here anymore. So your child is your most valuable asset. So you should be putting all your time, your resources into your child, right? Teaching that child about the Most High, right? Teaching your child about Hamashiach Yahushai. Teaching your child to keep the laws, the statutes, and the commandments. That's where your energy should be focused on. But what do? We neglect our children, right? It says, with a child being the greatest sacrifice a person could make to earn favor or protection from the deity. Archaeological echoes, topics, and evidence. So let's see what this is all about. Carthaginian topics, archaeological sites. This is the topic right here. You see this picture right here. The topic of Salambo, with thousands of urns containing cremated remains of infants and young children, often with animal bones. So this is in Carthage right here. These are literal artifacts that you can look up for yourself of children's bones in urns, right? It's called a tophet right here that you see right here at the top. And then you have the urns here at the bottom. Inscriptions, ML. I'm not sure if it showed on the out there in the internet world. My camera just started acting funny, right? It's a spiritual thing right here. This is such a spiritual thing right here. We're dealing with spiritual wickedness in high places that don't want this word to go out. Classical accounts. Greeks and Romans writers describe Carthaginians' child sacrifices during crisis. The biblical condemnation are not just theological pronouncements. They are tragically corroborated by the archaeological records. The ground itself cries out with the evidence of this horrific practice. In places like Carthage, the major Phoenician colony in North Africa, archaeologists uncovered what are known as tophets. These were sacred burial grounds specifically for the remains of sacrificed children. Thousands upon thousands of urns containing the cremated bones of infants and young children, some as young as a few days old, have been excavated. These are grim, undeniable testaments to the practice. And why it's on my mind, because this came across my mind, right? If you brothers are out there teaching on the corners and you see a strange family walking by, let's say you see an Edomite walking with an Israelite child, ask that Israelite child, is they okay? Ask them, do they know if they know that person? Because our kids are being taken and kidnapped all the time for these child sacrifices right here. Right? We had probably a few months back at camp, we had a young sister. We had some creepy, disgusting, pasty devil that was trying to talk to one of an Israelite sister, right? And oh man, all praises to the Most High. It came on my spirit to say something to that sister, because that dude was going to probably take that sister away, right? So please, if you're out there teaching on the highways and byways, or if you're not even teaching, if you're just going about your business, going to the mall, and you see a strange looking family, ask that child, do they know who they're with? Right? Ask that child, do they know that person? Because we see too many of our children, right, that they have that thick, beautiful hair, but it's so undone because you got Karen that don't know how to braid our children's hair. And you know that's off. They just let it be all wild, all matted and stuff like that. So something be wrong with those pictures right there. So please ask that child, do they know who they're with? Right? Thousands upon thousands of urns containing the cremated bones of infants and young children, some as young as a few days old, have been excavated. These are grim, undeniable testaments to the practice. Greek and Roman historians, who were often critical of Carthaginians' customs, also describe these horrific sacrifices, particularly in desperate times like war or famine. It was a desperate ultimate plea to their gods. And we read already, right? We read that we don't have to do these things. We don't have to do these sacrifices. The Most High will provide for us as long as we show some type of allegiance, some type of loyalty to Him. But we don't do that. We can't even be loyal to our own selves. We can't even commit to a damn diet and be loyal to our own selves, let alone the Most High. We got to get disciplined, Yasha Allah. We must get disciplined. It says this isn't merely abstract history. It's tangible evidence of humanity's descent when it turns from the Most High. Israel's tragic fall, kings who transgress. 2 Kings chapter 16 and verse 3. But he walked in the way of the kings of Israel, and made his son to pass through the fire, according to the abominations of the heathen. That's what we do right now. We allow our children to pass through the fire. We give them up. We give them up to BAAL so we can ball out. I mean, look at that. It's a play on words. We give our children up to BAAL just so we can ball out, right? So we can BALL out, right? That's what we do. So we can have a little trinkets here in America. We got to put two and two together because this thing is spiritual. King Manasseh of Judah, 2 Kings, actually I skipped it, 2 Chronicles chapter 28 and verse 3, and burnt his children in the fire after the abominations of the heathen. King Manasseh of Judah, 2 Kings chapter 21 and verse 6, and he made his son pass through the fire. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of LORD. And I try to change these things. You know, I slip up sometimes, but wickedness in the sight of the Most High to provoke him to anger. You see that? Let me read it again. And he made his son pass through the fire. He wrought much wickedness in the sight of the Most High. Because we know that these words were replaced. That's what this whole lesson is all about. It says to provoke him to anger. 2 Chronicles chapter 33 and verse 6. And he caused his children to pass through the fire in the valley of the son of Hinnom. The most heartbreaking chapter in this history is that even the Most High's chosen people, Israel, succumbed to this very abomination. You see that? We succumbed to this very abomination of child sacrifice. Kings who should have led their people in righteousness instead led them into the deepest darkness. This is what the Christian pastor does. The Christian pastor leads our people into the deepest darkness. Because not only do they say LORD, AMEN, but they also teach you to not keep the laws. So don't even look for these laws on how to serve our power in the Old Testament. Just stay in the New Testament. Chiefly stay in just two verses, St. John 3 and 16, and stay in the book of Galatians chapter 3 and verse 28. Close the book, give a good testimony about your life growing up down south, and that's all you need, right? It says King Ahaz of Judah, we read in 2 Kings chapter 16, made his son to pass through the fire according to the abominations of the heathen. He adopted the very practices for which the Most High cast out the nations from the land. This is why we got kicked out of the land right here. His grandson, King Manasseh, was even worse. You see that? So this thing happened with, it happened all with Solomon, right? Because Solomon went off by following the gods of these strange women, which in return, what? His offspring, his children that he had with these women, they taught them the ways of their culture, the ways of their gods, right? And this is why we had the division between Northern Kingdom and Southern Kingdom, right? One side wants to continue to follow the Most High and serve the Most High. The other part wants to serve idols right here, wants to call on other deities. It says he adopted the very practices for which the Most High cast out the nations from the land. His grandson, King Manasseh, was even worse. He reigned for 55 years and intensified these wicked acts. 2 Kings chapter 21 records that he made his son pass through the fire, committing much wickedness and provoking the Most High to anger. To even get to the fire, you must first call upon the name to get to the fire. You got to say, what's the name of that God that you serve? Oh, it's BAAL? Oh, that's the name? Okay. Now, what do I got to do to serve BAAL? That's the initial steps to allowing to you to step through that fire and to allow your children and your family to step to the fire. First and foremost, calling on that name. It says these acts often took place in the valley of the son of Hinnom, or Gehenna, outside Jerusalem, a place that would later become a chilling metaphor for divine judgment and hell itself. And that's where we are right now. We are living in that spiritual Gehenna. We are living in that hell today, which is called America, Babylon the Great. This serves as a terrifying testament to human depravity and the seductive power of idolatry, even for those who had known the Most High's truth. Laws of utter prohibition. Deuteronomy chapter 12, verse 31. Thou shalt not do so unto the Most High thy power, for every abomination to the Most High which he hateth have they done unto their gods, for even their sons and their daughters they have burnt in the fire to their gods. Deuteronomy 18 and verse 10. condemns making his son or his daughter to pass through the fire alongside divination, witchcraft, and other detestable practices, because all these things go hand in hand. The Most High's demand for holiness. Israel was to be a holy nation, separate from the vile practices around them, because the law is what makes us holy. So we're supposed to be separate from everybody that's doing these vile practices, right? Like first day worship in the church, that's a vile practice, right? Calling upon these deities, that's a vile practice. Keeping their pagan rituals and holidays, that's a vile practice. This was not just about ritual, it was about the very nature of worship. The Most High demands holiness, purity, and reverence for life. That's forever. It says he is the giver of life, and human sacrifice, especially of children, and an ultimate blasphemy against his very character. The clarity of the Most High's law on this matter is absolute. There's no ambiguity, meaning it's not foggy, it's not cloudy. From the very beginning of the covenant, he drew a sharp line in the sand. Furthermore, Deuteronomy 18:10 placed child sacrifice squarely among the most detestable practices, sorcery, divination, and wickedness, all forbidden because they sought power outside of the Most High and involved evil. You see that? Deuteronomy 12 and 30, chapter 12 verse 31 makes it clear, you shall not do so to the Most High your power, for every abomination which he hates they have done to their gods, for they even burned their sons and daughters in the fire to their gods. It was an ultimate abomination. The prophets lament. Jeremiah chapter 7 verse 31, and they have built the high places of Tophet. And that's what we read about. We read about the Tophets and the urns, right? The archaeological proof about that. To burn their sons and their daughters in the fire, which I commanded them not. You see that? The Most High commanded us not to give our children over to these idols. Neither came it into my heart. Ezekiel chapter 16 and verse 20. The Most High sees Israel's children as his own, tragically offered to idols. Moreover, thou hast taken my sons and my daughters, and these hast thou sacrificed unto them to be devoured, that thou hast slain my children. Psalms 106, verse 37 to 38. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters unto devils. You see that? That's MOLOCHBAEL, right? LORD, and shed innocent blood, and the land was polluted with blood, right? Because we got something called a Trail of Tears. That whole area that went from, I believe, like the Carolinas through Oklahoma, going out west, the Trail of Tears, is stained with nothing but blood. It's actually it's called a ley line, right? Where the bones, the blood is under the ground, and that energy is still there. That source of energy lays and remains there in that same spot. Hollywood, that's a perfect example of a ley line, right? That energy of our ancestors that were killed, right, brutally, their bones lay up under those concrete of them damn pentagrams, right? It's that energy right there, that energy source. It says, when Israel did fall into this practice, the Most High did not remain silent. He sent his prophets, whose words resonate with a mixture of divine grief, heartbroken lament, and fierce condemnation. Jeremiah 7:31 is pointed. The Most High declares he commanded them not, neither came it into my heart. This emphasizes that such unimaginable cruelty was never ever part of his desire or plan for the nation of Israel. Ezekiel 16 reveals the Most High's profound personal anguish, referring to these children as my sons and daughters whom Israel had tragically offered to false gods. It was a direct affront to his fatherly heart, because the Most High is our heavenly Father. And Psalms 106 exposes the horrific spiritual reality. They sacrificed their sons and their daughters into devils. This wasn't merely worship of inert idols, but an act that empowered demonic forces, polluting the land with innocent blood. The Trail of Tears, Hollywood, right? You got something called the Devil's Punch Bowl, right? You got Black Wall Street in Oklahoma. You got all these man-made lakes where they've drowned out all our cities. That's the innocent blood of that land crying up from the ground. It says the prophet's message was clear. There will be devastating consequences for such profound wickedness. Deeper depravity. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 12 and verse 20. Far in the ways of error. You see that? That's heavy right there. We got to read that again. Really let that sit in. It says, for they went astray. The they is talking about Israel. It's talking about us. For they went astray very far in the ways of error. Very far. It says, and held them for gods, which even among the beasts of their enemies were despised, being deceived as children of no understanding. When we ignorantly say Lord, that's a children of no understanding. We're not being scholarly and looking into what the actual meaning of that is. Therefore, unto them, as to children without the use of reason, thou didst send a judgment to mock them. Right? That's what you call slave ships. That's what you call Deuteronomy 28 and verse 68. A judgment to mock us. That's what you call being an African American. That's a judgment to mock us. That's what you call being a black, a Hispanic, right? A Puerto Rican. That's what you call a judgment to mock us. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 23. For whilst they slew their children in sacrifices, or used secret ceremonies, or made revelings of strange rites, they kept neither lives nor marriages any longer undefiled, but either one slew another treacherously, or grieved him by adultery, so that there reigned in all men, without exception, blood, manslaughter, theft, and dissimulation, corruption, unfaithfulness, tumults, perjury, disquieting of good men, forgetful of good turns, defiling of souls. That's heavy right there. Because now your soul has now been defiled. Your soul is what seats your spirit. So if your soul is defiled, your spirit is defiled. And then your body is defiled. That body is what the Most High gave you to sit your spirit in. Now it's defiled with all types of things on the left-hand side. It says changing of kind, meaning we want to change our genders, right? 72 different pronouns. Disorder in marriages, adultery, and shameless uncleanliness. For the worshiping of idols. Here we go again. For the worshiping of idols, not to be named. That is so important. This is why we spell it out. Is the beginning. That's what caused us to be where we at right now, right? As being a nigga that lives in California, right? That was your judgment. That was your sentence. That was your punishment to be to serve out your sentence in Orange, New Jersey, right? To serve out your sentence in what's another place? In Opelika, Florida. That was your judgment, your sentence. It says, for the worshiping of idols not to be named is the beginning, the cause, and the end of all evil. We have to take that seriously, Israel. We have to take this seriously right here. Stop using Lord. Stop saying Amen. And you say, oh, it means so be it, so be it. How prideful are you to say to the Most High, after you said your prayers, so be it. Make that sound in a nice way. Say so be it in a nice way, right? Make that make sense. How arrogant can we be as a people? So be it. You heard what I said. You heard that I need my brakes fixed. You heard that my damn check engine light came on. You know that I need a new another job. Most High, make it happen. So be it. Yo, we got to change this, bro. We got to change. Deeper depravity. The Bohemian Grove, right? The Bohemian Grove is a private campground in California belonging to the all-male Bohemian Club. And it is known for its annual summer retreat of powerful and prominent men. The most famous ritual is the cremation of care. So now let's see what we are still doing, Yasha Allah, right? To this day, because nothing's changed. It was just handed from one group of Edomites to another group of Edomites and another group of Edomites. It was handed to their offspring. These rituals never stopped at all, right? Okay, still got the incense burning, right? The cremation of care ceremony. This is a theoretical production held on the first night of the retreat. Now I gotta say this right here, right? You can look up on Alex Jones. He was the first person to sneak in this place called the Bohemian Grove and got footage of this thing actually happening, right? Alex Jones, right? You can type in Alex Jones, Bohemian Grove, and you probably can find something on YouTube about him, right? It says, this is a theoretical production held on the first night of the retreat. A small boat carrying an effigy of Dol Care is poled across a lake. Dark hooded figures receive the effigy, which is placed on an altar in front of a 40-foot tall concrete owl statue. You see that? So you got these men, right? I don't got no hoodie on, but you got these men in hoods, right? They are walking with an effigy, right? They say it's an effigy, but it's probably it's a child. They're not doing this for play. They are doing this for real, right? This is why you can look up, you go on Facebook, you go on Instagram, all you see is our children missing because they're being sacrificed in these rituals, the cremation of care, right? They're being sacrificed in these modern day rituals that they did in the ancient world, right? We must understand this, Israel, what we are dealing with. This is a spiritual battle. It says it's poled across the lake. Dark hooded figures receive the effigy, which is placed on an altar in front of a 40-foot tall concrete owl statue. In a mock ritual, the effigy is then set on fire. What does that sound like? Does that not sound like what we just read about MOLOCH? An altar being set on fire with an effigy of a child there, which is not an effigy, which is a real child being there, being set on fire, right? It says, while critics, actually, let me see, the effigy is set on fire as a way for the attendees to symbolically burn away their worldly worries and responsibilities. Because what was the worries that they had back in the ancient world? Are we going to get enough rain? Right? Are we going to be able to have babies and fertility and stuff like that? Those were the worldly responsibilities that these other nations dealt with. Remember, we always had the Most High, and all we had to do is trust on Him. But we wanted to be the ones to say, "Oh, that nation has a king. We want a king too." Right? Oh, that nation, that's what they do to their deity. Teach us how we can do the same thing to your deity as well. Right? It says, the effigy is then set on fire as a way for the attendees to symbolically burn away their worldly worries and responsibilities. While critics have linked this ceremony to pagan or occult rituals, those who have attended or studied it often describe it as an elaborate theatrical overgrown frat party, which they're just saying that so they can dumb it down, make it sound a little bit, not so dark and not so nefarious, right? Or a form of catharsis for men in high stress positions, right? So pretty much rich white men want to go here so they can release all their worries and cares to MOLOCH, right? The owl. Human sacrifice. There were claims that cults were abducting and sacrificing infants and children as part of their ritual. Allegations included descriptions of ritualistic murders and mutilations. Now, this is today. This is modern day today of these satanic cults, right? These satanic cults are the cult of BAL. These satanic cults are the cult of MOLOCH, right? Let's put these things together. It's the same culprit, the same thing. Nothing changed. Cannibalism. Some claims involve the ideal that cult members would consume parts of the bodies of their victims as part of their ceremonies. You see that? This is what we did as a people. You will look at that movie Apocalypto, them ripping out hearts and stuff like that. They learned that from those are Israelites that learned that from somewhere. They learned that from when we were back in the land all together, right? They came here to the Americas, like the scripture says, in hopes to worship the Most High, but they went back into paganism. They went back into doing the same thing that landed us into captivity. Ritual abuse. A central part of the panic was the widespread allegations of ritualistic, sexual, and physical abuse of children, often in daycares and preschools. And you can look this thing up. It's called the Satanic Panic of, I think, the 80s and 90s, right? It says a vast conspiracy. The claims often suggested a hidden, vast, intergenerational network of satanic cults that included powerful and wealthy members of society. The same way it was back then. You had the governors of the land that will call on these things, right? You will have the men that were of authority, that had power, right? They will call for these things to happen, right? Abortion. MOLOCH's modern echoes, right? Let's get into it. The name MOLOCH echoes through the annals of history and religious texts as a symbol of profound evil and a deity demanding the ultimate price, the worship of MOLOCH, who is LORD, who is BAAL. It's all the same thing. It's all the same game. Primarily associated with the Ammonites and other cultures in the ancient Near East, involved the gruesome practice of child sacrifice. This was not a mere offering of animals or crops, but the immolation of one's own flesh and blood, a horrifying act meant to secure prosperity, protection, or favor from the deity. Biblical accounts, particularly in the Old Testament, condemn this practice unequivocally. The book of Leviticus is particularly explicit, stating, "You shall not give any of your offspring to offer them to MOLOCH, nor shall you profane the name of your power. I am the Most High." Leviticus 18:21. The penalty for such an act was death by stoning. This is what would happen if you were caught calling on the names of these other deities and then worshiping them. A testament to the gravity which the ancient Israelites viewed this transgression. The prophet Jeremiah further highlights the abhorrence of this practice, describing how the people of Judah built the high places of Baal in the valley of Ben Hinnom to offer up their sons and daughters to MOLOCH. Jeremiah 32:35. The valley of Ben Hinnom, or Gehenna, became synonymous with hell and eternal damnation due to these heinous rituals. So the abortion clinic is modern day Gehenna, right? If you're going to Planned Parenthood, you are going to modern day Gehenna. This historical account and archaeological findings corroborate these biblical narratives. In Carthage, and we read about this earlier, a Phoenician city with close ties to the culture that worship MOLOCH, evidence of child sacrifice has been uncovered in a place known as a tophet. These tophets contain urns and charred remains of infants and small children. That's what the clinics are. That's what these unalive clinics are for children is, right? And have you ever asked yourself and wondered what happens to the fetus after it's taken out of the woman, right? They say they incinerate it. They say they cremate it, but are they really doing that, right? No. They're not really doing that. It says these tophets contain urns with the charred remain of infants and small children, often with stelae or grave markers bearing inscriptions to deities like Baal, right? A figure often equated with or closely related to MOLOCH. Like I said, it's the same game. This practice, far from being a myth, was a dark reality of the ancient world and the modern world. A desperate and brutal method of appeasing perceived divine wrath or ensuring future blessings. The act of child sacrifice to MOLOCH was not random. So it's not random that you have abortion clinics placed strategically in the hoods, right? And it's not just random that you have birthing clinics placed strategically all in prosperous, rich Edomite neighborhoods. This is all done by design. It says it was deliberate, ritualized choice. It was a trade, a child's life for something of perceived greater value, whether it be military victory, right? Bountiful harvest, or the prosperity of family or community. Now think about that. The reason why a woman will go to a damn clinic, right, to get rid of the fetus, to get rid of a child, because let's call it what it is. It's a child. To get rid of a child, because it's not going to turn into something else other than a child. You're not going to have Bigfoot come out your womb, right? You're not going to have the damn Loch Ness monster come out your womb. You're going to have a child come out your womb, right? And you do this so you don't have to have the burdens of having a child, so you can make more money. So you can continue to ball out to BAAL, right? That's what you're doing. It says, and another thing too, this came to mind, especially Israelite women, right? Black women are so vain, right? Because you got black women that will say, you know what? And it just came to me that they'll say, I'm not going to breastfeed because it's going to make my titty sag, right? All about yourself. I'm not going to have any more. I'm only going to have one child because I might get these stretch marks. I don't want to have no stretch marks and stuff like that. All about yourself, right? So you can just shake your funky tail feather for a few dollars. So you can lay on your back for a few dollars, right? It was a woman that literally, she had sex with a man for a half a Subway sandwich, right? It's madness, the things that we do as a people. But I digress. It says, whether it be military victory, a bountiful harvest, or the prosperity of the family or community, the chilling aspect was the complicity of the parents. So when you go to these the abortion clinics, right? When you go to these places, what you are now doing is you are breaking a commandment. Thou shalt not kill or murder, right? And the doctor doing this, he's a complicit in murder, right? The woman that's doing it, you are complicit in murder. And maybe you did not know that before today. And you can repent for those things, right? I've had my own. Back before I came inside of this truth and stuff like that, the same thing happened. One happened because, it wasn't the fault of myself or the woman I was with at the time, but it was medical complications that had to be done. But I still felt just as bad, right? But before I came in this truth, hey, those things happen right there. And I pray that the Most High forgives me for that he has mercy on me, right? It says the act of sacrifice, actually, what was that? Oh, the chilling aspect from the complicity of the parents who knowingly and willingly offered their own children to the flames. It was an act of profound dehumanization, there where the child was stripped of their personhood and reduced to a commodity. And that's what you call it. You say, it's not a child. It's just an embryo. It's just a fetus. It's now being reduced to a commodity, like it's not going to be an adult. Let's say, for instance, you are taking the life of the next Israelite doctor, right? Let's say you're taking the life of the next Israelite lawyer. Let's say, for instance, you're taking the life of the next Israelite president. When you do these ritualistic procedures to MOLOCH, right? This is what you're doing. It says it was in a profound dehumanization where the child was stripped of their personhood and reduced to a commodity, a sacrificial lamb to be consumed by a faceless, demanding God. Let's move on. The dramatic parallels between the ancient practice of child sacrifice to MOLOCH and the modern debate surrounding abortion are often drawn by those who oppose the procedure. While the methods and social context are vastly different, the core ethical and moral questions, they argue, remain hauntingly similar. Because today you don't see them physically taking the child to the statue unless you go to Bohemian Grove and they're doing it in secret and stuff like that. But you're taking a child to the pregnant woman is going to the clinic and doing the same thing. That's what it is. The central theme in both is the termination of a child's life for the perceived benefit of the parent or society, right? It says, in the dramatic retelling of this comparison, the clinic becomes the modern Tophet, right? The grave, and the medical instruments the new altar. The fire of MOLOCH is replaced by the sterile tools and chemical process of the abortion procedure. Just as the ancient parent offered their child to the deity for a promised benefit, the modern individual may choose abortion for a variety of reasons that are framed as beneficial to their life, career advancements, financial stability, personal freedom, or the avoidance of social or emotional hardship. In this framing, the child is not offered to a stone idol, but to the gods of convenience, personal ambition, and societal expectations, right? This perspective argues that the moral core of the act is identical. The child, whether in the womb or in the arms of their parents, is deemed an impediment to a desired outcome. Their life is weighed against a future that is seen as more desirable and is found wanting. The fetus is dehumanized, often referred to as a clump of cells, right? Or potential life. To make the act of ending it more palatable, just as the ancient priests may have used ritual language to justify their actions. So it's the same thing. The child is no longer a person with inherent worth, but an obstacle to be removed, a problem to be solved. The dramatic tension in this parallel lies in the silent nature of the sacrifice. While the ancient rituals were public and often accompanied by wailing and music to drown out the cries of the children, the modern act is often cloaked in privacy and clinical sterility. The decision is made behind closed doors. The procedure is performed in a quiet room, and the emotional and ethical weight is often internalized. Yet the argument poses the fundamental sacrifice remains. The life of a vulnerable, innocent being is exchanged for a perceived benefit, and the moral landscape is forever altered by the choice. Next time on Whispers from the End. You look at the bottom part of the screen right here. That will be MOLOCH. What you see in the background is what you call Epstein's Island. On Epstein's Island, he has a temple called MOLOCH Temple. I kid you not. So on Epstein Island, he has a temple that's dedicated to BALMOLCHLORD, right? This is what we're going to go deep dive into next week. When they did a raid on Epstein's home, right, or on his island, right? When they did a raid on this island, right, they found this picture right here. Bill Clinton, right? This is not no Photoshop. This ain't nothing I created myself at all, right? This image right here was found. This painting was found inside of one of the rooms of Jeffrey Epstein, right? Because we played for you guys the saying Epstein's niece, right? When she was saying, yeah, they worship the cult of BAAL, right? So best believe that these high profiled people, presidents, Donald Trump, George Bush, all these rich elite men, they all took in the ritual sacrifices that Epstein did, right? They all did the same thing. They all partake in the blood sacrifices of MOLOCH, right? Right? Allegedly, right? Allegedly, right? But we got to put two and two together. These things are real. This is a real spiritual battle, Yasha, spiritual battle, right? I'm gonna let me see if anybody got any questions, any comments about the class, about the lesson today, right? Anything you want to say, go ahead and put it in the chat. And actually, you know what? I'll drop a link for in case anybody wants to come on and just say a few words about this. It has to be pertaining to the class though, right? Let me drop a link real quick. Let me see. I'm gonna drop a link real quick in case anybody wants to come on and just say a couple of words before I log off. If not, you know, it is what it is. Okay, there go a link in the chat. If anybody wants to talk about anything pertaining to the topic at hand, right? Pertaining to the topic at hand. If you just want to, you know, drop your 2 cents about it, you know, please just click the link. I'll give you a few seconds to come on if somebody wants to click the link. Right? Because this is a serious thing, right? This is so serious. You know, we have to change. If we want to make it, if we want to partake in the kingdom of heaven, right? We want to have eternal life, Israel. You know, we got to change, right? We can't continue to do the same things. We can't continue to do the same things. This is what put us in this this predicament. This is what's put us in this place right here, right? So we got to change. Let me know your thoughts, right? I'll give y'all about like 30, let me see. I'll give about 30 more seconds in case anybody wants to click the link, come on, and say something pertaining to the topic at hand. Pertaining to the topic at hand, right? You know, make sure y'all tap in. You know, you like or dislike, right? Share, subscribe. You know, the next class that will be coming up will be the eldest class on the 4th day and on the 6th day. Then we're out at camp, you know, on the 7th day, right? Yeah, so make sure you you tap in and you tune in with us. Let me see. Give y'all 30 seconds in case anybody wants. Okay, all right. No, nobody wants to come on. Well, I want to say first of all, I want to say Kwam Abanaw Yahweh, Kwam Hamashiach Yahushai, Kwam Yasha Allah, and let me see. Let me drop this real quick. Stop the screen from sharing. Leave y'all with the outro. All right, I'm out.